Good morning, everybody. Happy New Year's. Gong Hei Fa Choi, or Xin Ling Kuai Le. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Susan Chan. I'm the Executive Director of the Tucson Chinese Cultural Center. We have an excellent program for you guys today. From 10 to 12, we will be doing a traditional Chinese cooking class. And then with a half-an-hour break, we will be doing a live stream of a traditional Chinese New Year lion dance from the Tucson Chinese Cultural Center Lion Dance Troupe from 12:30 to 1. So I wanted to let you know we are being recorded. And then if you have any questions in between, you can certainly let me know through raising your hand or chatting and typing it in so that I can ask Jen for you. The best would be if just to type in your questions, and then I can ask Jen while she's cooking if anybody has questions. All right, so with this, we're gonna go ahead and start, and I'm gonna introduce you to Jen. She is going to teach you guys how to do a traditional Chinese dinner. And Jen, here you are.
Good morning.
Can everybody see Jen? Let's see here.
I'm going back and forth at this proximity. I have a lot of things here. Well, but first of all, 新年快乐，大家早上好. That's good morning, Happy New Year. What we are doing today, as I said, we're doing 4 different things. We have a Chinese New Year vegetarian dish, and we have fish, the braised instead of steamed. And then we also will be making dumplings and dessert that is called tangyuan. Since Chinese Lantern Festival is going to be on Tuesday, which marks the beginning of our Chinese New Year celebration. So we will make tangyuan as a dessert. But you're going to notice that I'm going to jump back and forth a little bit because there are certain things that needs to be prepared. So it can be used a little later. It takes some time to do. The first thing I'm going to do for the dumplings, so we're going to be really traditional this time. We will be making the doughs as well. Instead of the wrappers that you buy from the store, we're actually going to make the dough. Making the doughs is not really complicated. It's basically, I'm only using flour, just regular flour, and then add water, and then to the nice consistent softness. That's really all there is. So, but to making the dough, it takes like 3 different steps. The first step is that we add the water in, and then we make sure they're all formed.
Can everybody hear and see Jen well? If not, please chat me. We want to make sure the sound system and the visuals are good. Okay.
And then, so I will make it at the first round. I have to let the dough rest a little bit, and then come back and then knead them again. Okay. So I'm going to do the step 1 first. So we able to make a dumpling later. So it depends. I mean, for making the dough, probably everyone has the experience. It's basically the ratio of water and water that you use. Okay. And the reason that the dumpling is used because for New Year, most people, I think, especially for those of us outside of China, and well considered dumpling is a New Year's dish. Dumpling is New Year's dish. It's partly because of the shape of the dumpling looked like the old ancient style of money that was produced. So it's also, that's why it's like it's a symbolic that you're going to have a wealth in the coming year. But dumpling, I have to say, just like everything else, all kinds of food, dumpling is not eaten by every single family. people in northern China use a dumpling much more than the people from southern China. Southern China do have a dumplings. They even have many different variety and versions of dumplings, different shapes. I can show you a couple shapes, and then some shapes are very, very fun from with the children. Because it look like you're just braiding the edges to have it closed. Okay, so you can see with the flour and water, and right now I still need a little more flour water in here. You can see some of them are already become like the flaky pieces. So we will be adding more water so we can have a dough. So, and what I'm doing, making this, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the vegetarian dish that we're going to do. Because I'm going to show you all the ingredients I have. If you have a printer or have seen the recipe already, you may know that there is about 20 different ingredients. And if you don't have the recipe, it is on the TCCC's website that you can open up and take a look. The purpose of the vegetarian dish, one, is that about 30, 40 years ago in China, the standard of living is not like today, and there's no refrigeration. And during the winter season, there aren't that much of vegetables available. So they cook this vegetarian dish, and they leave them in the covered pot and leave them outside the house. It's not the natural refrigeration, and that way they can have a vegetable for the entire time of the New Year. And it's also a custom for people that you have visitors or families. They give a bowl of vegetarian dish. They give a bowl of vegetarian dish as a gift. Because there are families with very few people, they don't want to go through the trouble to make the vegetarian dish themselves. So their neighbors actually just give them a bowl. And then also with holidays, whether you have money or not, it is the time of year you have more of the meat is consumed. So that is the second reason. That's also you really want something vegetarian. You don't want to see meat anymore. And then third is for the reason of more of probably a religious reason. New Year is time of giving thanks for the blessings. And people go to temple on New Year's Day in many different regions of China. And there are also people worship, so-called, it's not really probably the word to use, but mainly worship, and for them to at home for whatever, if it's the Buddha figure, religious figure, goddess, the happy Buddha, and whatever figure that they worship, and they put offerings on the table along with the incense, and then they would do some vegetarian items there, because Buddha supposedly they are vegetarians. Okay, so now for the dough, it is formed, but I need to let this rest a little bit and then come back and knead this again. Okay, so I'm going to just let this rest for a little bit. Then I will go on to the next thing that we need for the dumpling. To making dumpling is not as simple as just wrapping. We need to prepare for different things. Just going to cover a little bit. next thing we're going to do is the filling of the dumpling. You can do any really filling that you want, the protein of your preference. As I said, the dumplings are made in different regions of China, and they make a different kinds. They are northern China. People love to use lamb, beef. In southern China, it's more of a pork, and in the really southern, in Canton area, and people actually use seafood. And then their dough is actually different kind of dumpling doughs. Okay, and then they're also much smaller in size, but shape-wise, it's still very similar. I'm using today is the ground pork. So that's just a store-bought ground pork. If you have a grinder, you can simply grind it yourself. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to add is I'm going to add whole eggs in there. If you're allergic to egg, you can use water instead. I just dropped a piece of shell in there. So it's the whole egg. Okay. Approximately 1 egg per 1 pound of meat. If you have, let's say, 3.5 pounds of meat, you can use 3 or 4. It won't make that much difference. This one, so after you add the eggs in, you can just mix it. I love to use chopsticks for everything. You can use fork. You can use your hand. So after they're kind of all mixed in here, I'm going to add some water in order to tenderize it. Because after the meat is being ground all together, they are very, very tight. We're going to give them some oxygen here. So I'm going to add water. You're going to see water going to be all absorbed into the meat. All the dumplings that you have, whether it's store-bought or from the restaurant, they don't really taste like a whole block of the chewy meat, like a steak. Those filling, the things in if it's anything that has a filling, appetizers, the meat are usually pretty soft. Okay. If I add water in there, it's pretty much absorbed already in here right now. Okay, so I'm going to add a little more. The texture is more like the texture of cottage cheese, maybe. It's kind of flowing, but not running. It's kind of still hold it together. Okay. Still hold together, and then we're going to add some Napa cabbage. Okay, we're going to add cabbage too. So need just tiny bit more. It seems like I'm probably adding a lot of water in here. I think I have about 3.5 pounds of meat in here. It's probably, I would say, 2 cups of water. 2 cups of water. Hold on a second. Okay. So adding this. So now you can see the texture of the meat. It's kind of soft. It still holds on the chopsticks, but it's easily coming down. But it's not like the water, it's really flowing, dripping down. Okay. And my next ingredient I'm going to add in here is the ginger. It's a minced ginger. So you all know what ginger is, ginger root. What I did was peel the skin, then slice it, and then cut it into fine shreds. And then chop it to mince the ginger. If you want to use your food processor, which is perfectly fine. So, I have a line cutting board. I have some ginger that's from the fine shreds, and then once you chop the small pieces, I want them to be finer. To be finer, you can actually just use a knife and on the board, doing this continuous up and down chopping motion, but holding the tip of the knife down so it doesn't go everywhere. It doesn't go everywhere. So we just give a few more, just make it look small. So in the filling, it doesn't have to bite into a big piece of ginger piece. Okay. So, right. So ginger goes in the pork. 3.5 pounds of meat. I have approximately less than quarter cup of ginger. A little extra ginger is no issue unless you absolutely neither tolerate. Okay. Okay. And then mix it together. And then at this point, we're going to add our seasoning to make the filling. Soy sauce. This is about a third, no, actually about quarter cup in here first. Quarter cup. And mix it all. Try to mix it well. You can, Asian people, a lot of them, especially if you learn cooking from your parents, they really, there's no measurement for how much season it's to add. And a lot of times they say, well, how much salt do I put it in there, Mom? They say, well, just a pinch. Well, how big is a pinch? Well, just a little pinch. I mean, what do you mean how big is a pinch? It just, that's how they teach you. Just look just like this. So there's no accurate measurement of it. But for making the filling, a lot of times they said to us, they said, actually, especially when we use the soy sauce and plus others, and said, smell it. It's on the nose. It's like the way we're tasting wine here. It's on the nose. You can tell if it has enough seasoning or not. So, okay, that's what we have learned. It's basically trial and error. Okay. So now we're going to add some sugar. About this time, I'm really doing a pinch, but a little bigger pinch. This is about 1 teaspoon here, teaspoon of sugar. And I'm going to add the chicken essence. That's about also need about a tablespoon of the chicken essence. So, tablespoon. And then let's mix it. Okay. Mix this. There's really not that much ingredients in here. You may notice all the things I'm making today that it seems like very, very few. I use soy sauce, salt, sugar, chicken essence, sesame oil, white pepper, apple cider vinegar. That's pretty much all the seasons, like flavoring I'm adding to all the things I'm making. Okay, when the color of the meat is, for all the soy sauce I use, this is a light color soy sauce. There are darker soy sauce. You can, if you want a little more darker color, you can just add for this much meat, I probably add like a couple tablespoons of a dark soy sauce. And then that's it, because that's simply really, it has the flavor, saltiness to it, but it's also for the purpose of color. Okay. So talking about with the mask on, it's a little hard to really get a sense of the flavor with the nose. And since we're going to add Napa cabbage to this later, so I'm going to add about 2 teaspoons of salt in here. So give it enough flavor, but I don't really want the seasoning to be that dark. I don't want them to be that dark. So after this, the salt, just mix it better, and now I'm adding into white pepper. White pepper gives a great flavor. This is about a tablespoon. I know the way I'm shaking into it, it may seem some more, but it's only about a tablespoon in here. If you don't have a white pepper, you can use a black pepper, but make sure it is a fine powder. You don't want the black pepper out of the grinder, otherwise, when you bite into the dumpling, there may be a chance you're going to bite into a quarter of the cracked pepper. Okay. And then we're adding sesame oil. I like to use sesame oil. You can use any kind of oil. Oil is basically help lock in the flavor of the meat. And so you can actually store this in the refrigerator for a day or two. And you can also put in the freezer for weeks if you just want to make a large batch of pork filling and then use it later. Okay. Another ingredient we're going to add in here, other than the Napa cabbage, it will be the green onions. But you don't want to mix in the green onion until pretty much right before you're going to use the filling. You don't want to store the meat with the onion mixed in because it gives the meat a little sour taste to it. Okay, so I'm not going to mix anything else in until right before we're going to make the dumpling. Okay, so I'm going to put this. I'm going to set this in the refrigerator. I will be right back. All right, so I put the soy aside. And different glove. This one, for this hand. We're coming back to our dumpling dough because it's rested. I need to now. Okay, we need to knead this a little again so that it can be smooth. Okay. So many of you probably know dumpling can be called pastikers. They're really the same thing, pastiker. And then some people call it gaozi. And then in Mandarin it's jiaozi. Okay. It's a little hard to. Okay. So Mandarin for dumpling is jiaozi. Okay. So you can see it's much easier now to form them to a dough. Okay. So when a bowl is a little small, we can actually put this. All the things you see on the table here, those are for the vegetarian dish. Okay, so I'm going to take this dough out on the table. Now we can knead this a little better. Okay, so jiaozi, there are different ways of making it. When cooking it, I should not say making it, cooking it. Making it, obviously, you can put different fillings in it, but dough is safe. There's no really different way of making a dough unless you go buy them. For cooking the dumpling, it can be boiled. If it's boiled, we call them 水饺. 水饺, that means water dumpling, okay? Water dumpling. And we can also call this, or can make it in the way of steam. If it's steamed, is a 蒸饺. 蒸 means the steam, okay? And then there are people that, well, I don't like either one of them. I make them a little crispy. How do we make them crispy? They will be fried, but not deep fried. You probably see many restaurants when you order a dumpling, everything is fried. That's really a little more Americanized, or Westernized, I should say. But you can do this as pan fried. Two ways of pan fry it can be frying it as from the beginning as a raw, some oil in the skillet, and pan fry the bottom, and then lower the heat, add water to the skillet, and until the water all absorbed. And then you can also have a lid on that skillet if you have a lid, and that way the steam from the skillet that you can that cooks the dumpling cooks inside. But that we call 锅贴. If you want to have a slightly easier pan fry process, you can steam it first. Don't steam 100%. Usually steam a dumpling, it takes about 15-20 minutes. And this one, you probably need to stop at about 12 minutes. So you can pan fry it, make sure the bottom is nice and golden brown and crispy. So this is step 2. Now it's more in the much better shape. It's actually pretty heavy. Probably 12 pounds in here. Like I'm holding a 12-pound baby. Now we can set this aside. Let it rest one more time. Okay. You need to kind of cover those anything you make with flour, especially for the last thing. I'm going to show you what we do. You really need to cover, especially in the Tucson area. It's so dry. Any of the things are so easy to dried up on the surface and all cracked. All right, so those two things we set inside. They can rest till when we get ready to use it. We will do that. Most things are available. Okay, now the vegetarian dish. This is one. You don't have a copy of the recipe here? Have I print it? Okay. Can I print that? Yeah. The recipe has, I think, 20 ingredients on it. The one I made for myself during the Chinese New Year, right before the New Year. This is usually made before New Year's Eve, but this is one of the dishes you're actually using for it's on the table with the New Year's Eve dinner. So when I made them, it was 20. I was able to find 22 different things. I was still missing a couple of things that I really want, but it's not available here. So it's not critical that you really need to have the same number of items every year. But yes, as long as you get majority of it, there are some key ingredients. One of them is celery. Okay. You can use Chinese celery or just a regular celery you can get in the grocery store. The celeries are cut into, they're about 1.5 inches long, about 1.5 inches. And then there are just a smaller pieces. From this to this, it's once you know how to cut it, it's not complicated. Okay. So what I do is I use the bigger outside layers of it, stalks of them, and then I just press it down to make it flat. Yes, they're not perfectly flat sometimes. Sometimes they crack. It's no big deal. And then I try to slice this to get it pretty thick. So I sliced it one more time. So it's going to become pretty much like 2 pieces. Okay, 2 pieces. And then the cut them about 1.5 inch thin. Okay, and then you start cutting them to small pieces. There goes your celery sticks. Very fine celery sticks. So I'm going to show you, I'm just going to cut this one because I cut most of them already. Okay, so you can we use I use this quite a bit, even on a regular basis. It doesn't have to be making a veggie dish. Okay, so add this tip here. Celery you can still find in the winter season, so celery. And next green vegetable is called the snow pea shoots, not the pea sprouts, the pea shoots. Pea shoots are just larger pieces. They actually comes in by the time you buy, when you buy them, it's probably about this long. And then we just pick the tip off and then break them into small pieces. It's easier to cook, and then even while you eat, it's much easier. So that's the second major ingredient. I couldn't find them here in Tucson the other day. Susan actually bought them from Phoenix yesterday. We do things, we do very strange things for the food that we want. We're willing to drive 2 hours to get that one ingredient. And then next green veggie is spinach. But this one is they call it Taiwan spinach. The ones that has the roots, you can probably, and then they're much bigger. So for vegetarian dish like this one, that's you don't want the spinach to be very soft, getting soft so quickly, and then all water, and then getting very soggy. So for this, what I simply do is I cut the tip, the root tip off a little bit, not every part. I'm just cutting the an end layer off. See, even I cut the roots off, they still hold it together. Okay, and from here, I cut this also about. You can just pick it with your hands too, and then for the head, just split it open. That's it. And this is the thing we're going to stir fry. I have a whole big bowl of them there. Okay, I'm going to put this on the side right now. And then the next big ingredients, this one is called, this is a little strange, let's say. This only comes in, I can only find them in frozen here. In Mandarin, it's called ji cai. I don't know if it is the varietal of the name or for the botanical, or somebody simply translated. They call this shepherd's purse. I call it shepherd's purse. It comes in frozen. You need to defrost and then clean it, because it comes in, some of them are very long, like spinach, and they also have the roots too. Okay, so for this, I actually cut the roots off. Cut the roots off, and then cut this also in the short pieces. But this is cooked, so when we use this in the mixture, it's more of a mix in with the some other tofu products, and then I don't add this until really last minute, and then I add this in, just really warm it up. Okay, and then the next item I have are the lotus roots. You all know about lotus root. Lotus root is oh, that's in Mandarin. It's called oh. You peel the skin off, and then cut both ends. Okay. Cut both ends, and then the way to cut this, there are many different ways to cook a lotus root. You can also make this as an appetizer, but it's a sweet flavor. So I cut this half, and then another half, okay, and then slice it. They're pretty thin slices, but you don't want them to be too thick. Okay, so not used to the, it's hard for me to cut with a glove on my left hand. Sometimes I feel like I'm just cutting the glove. Okay, so slice it. Okay. This is a cook alone. This lotus is a cook it by itself. Okay, and then. And cooking the lotus root, we will be also using ginger here. Okay. And then next item here is next few are all tofu products to show you. All the tofu products to show you. This one is a fried tofu cake. This is the one I used, fried tofu cake. In here, this is the one that I cut up already. And then this is what it comes. It's look like. They come in different sizes. Some of them are really, really tiny. You can make a soup, just throw the whole thing in there. So this one, I slice it first. Okay. And then cut into so many things are in the stick shape, a little cube. Okay. So then it just becomes pieces. They pretty much they will hold together. Okay, like that. Okay. 这叫油豆腐. This one is called 油豆腐. Okay. Next one is the dry finger. It's a 5-spice dry finger. Pack of this also comes in different thickness, thick or thin. But this is a pack of almost 21 ounces in here. But tofu product is always, it's never actually too much in the vegetarian dish. So it's brown color. They usually comes in square. Some are thicker, some are more firm, some are has more air to it. You can actually feel they're soft. So 这是五香豆腐干. Cut this. This one may take a little, and you be careful when you do this. The way I do it is I slice them from the top. Okay, you need to control the pressure of your knife. Okay, if you cannot cut this way, you can cut the tofu to half first, and then you can stand it up, and then cut it into slices. Can do slice, okay, and then cut them into a matchstick size. Okay. No one is measuring these, so it doesn't have to be really uniform, exactly same size. So as long as they're all very similar, you're good there. Okay. If any one of them you see, oh, this one's a little too big, you can just change it. Okay. So this is 五香豆腐干. So this goes in my bag along with these. And then next is also tofu item. It's a thin tofu sheets, 叫薄百叶. 薄百叶. Okay, it literally is a sheet. When you open them, there are several of them in the bag. This is 薄百叶 sheet. Okay, so this one. Obviously, I'm going to cut this one sheet at a time, or if it's this thin, it could be a little hard. So I usually just lay it out and cut them into 3 sections. And then I layer them together. And then I cut this half again, and then another half. So all the things, the length is about an inch or inch and a half or so. And then it has a little stack of them. And then with this stack, since I have very little, I just cut that one more time. Then I can just cut it. Just stack them all up. cut into, like I said, quarter inch width to become this. Okay. This one, if you cut them ahead of time, it would be nice that if you can soak it in the water, keep them soaked in the water. Okay. And then my last tofu item, it's called gluten pot. Did I put a different name on there on the sheet? Where's the other? Let's see. Yeah, it's called a wheat gluten. This is called wheat gluten, and there are 3 pieces here. It was just all together, and it felt like a soft Hawaiian roll, but it's not sweet. But the texture of it really just feels like that, and then the shape looks like it too. Okay. So for this one, also I just slice them into 3. And then powder, let's slice them again. Now it become little pieces. And there's some of them that stick together. Remember there were 3? You can just pull them apart. This way you don't have to really cut all the little ones one at a time. So that's time saving. Then just pull it apart. So that's my last tofu related ingredient. Okay. Yeah. Next one. I wish I had a fresh one of these. Okay. Oh, the gluten cup is called the kao fu. That's a Chinese in Mandarin. It's called kao fu. This particular one, I wish they have a fresh one. Those are bamboos, 叫竹笋. But we don't have a fresh bamboos here, so I bought the prepackaged ones. They are actually just cooked with the but blanched the roots and then in water. And this, it comes in 2 or 3 pieces. And then this, you just slice it. So okay. You slice it first. Everything is little matchstick pieces. The cooking of this dish, it really doesn't take long. It's the preparation. You have to really cut everything. Okay, so that's the bamboos. Now it'll become little pieces. Okay. So 竹笋. Symbolic meaning for bamboo is things are going better because they grow one section at a time. 节节高. And then they use this for people in school, for kids in school. I wish them to have a good grades as they're moving up, or for people that at work, hope you get promoted every year, right? All right, next few things. You have to, they come in dry form. This one is a muar, the wood ear, black wood ear. They're very light. And this little bit probably going to give you quite a bit of amount after you soak them. After you soak them, you need to pick the end tip off. A lot of them have a little root on it. And then so muar, you need to soak it, preferably the night before, and then next day and wash it, and then pick them off. If they're too big, you can just break them into small pieces or cut them into small pieces. And then once they are done, clean, it's like this. One step I also did for this is I actually blanched this ahead of time instead of a completely raw. So-called blanch. After it's boiled, I actually left them in there boiled for another 10 minutes. So it's a little more than, so this is the extended blanch, not just. Okay, and my next item is shiitake mushrooms. In this case, we don't use the fresh ones. We also use dry ones. Okay, these are the dry ones. You also please soak them the night before. And once you soak them, actually really expand in size. Just want to show you how big they can be. This one, this particular one I'm showing you right now, similar shape to this. There's a difference before and after size. Okay. And after it's soaked, you need to make sure and you need to wash the surface. Sometimes the surface has a little piece of scabs on them. You just need to make sure it's all cleaned. And you need to make sure you cut the root, the stem off, because we don't need these stem too chewy. If you make soup, if you like to make soup, you can add these stems to your soup. It adds a lot of great flavor, but you just don't want to eat them. Okay. So after you cut the stem off, and then slice it. This one we just a nice thinly sliced them. Okay. You don't need too much of shiitake mushrooms. The dry ones have a very strong flavor. A little bit in there. That's why I say I don't really use that much in the whole thing like this. We're almost done with our ingredients. This one is called the Jingzhen Cai. They call it lily flower. They come in dry form also. They're long. You have to soak them. Okay. And then this is one of the package, what it look like. And then after I soak them, it becomes, see what I take it out there. They also, see, they look like this now. This one, you also have to pick the tips off. There's some of them more than other, but you can feel it, the little lump kind of on the very top. You can use fingers to pick it off, since we're all together here. I have this little group, I just cut that off. After I cut it off, I cut this into about an inch, just to make it a little shorter in there. Okay, so that's your Jingzhen Cai. Okay. And then we're almost done. Next thing is called salted snow cabbage, 叫雪里红. Okay. Some people also call it 雪菜. This is preserved already. So once you take out the package, just rinse it off. It has plenty of the salt flavor already. And this is actually what it looks like. 雪里红. There are canned ones, but I haven't seen them for a while. So for this, just cut them in. Really, this is more like just a chocolate in the little pieces. It would be hard when you after the veg dish is made. It's hard to find them, but it's everywhere. You can't really say, let's just find one piece. Maybe you do that. Okay, so I have this, just one pack. Okay, and then this one is called 榨菜. It's the mustard stem. I did not buy the whole one. They come in whole roots. And I bought the one that's pre-sliced, so a little less cutting. But I did notice when I open them, there are a couple of slices mixed in instead of just become all the shreds. So once you see that, this one I'm soaking in the water a little bit because I have several preserved vegetables. I don't want them to be too salty. So now I can actually pour the water out. So now that it's drained. And then next one is called, they call it sweet or radish. Okay. They also have them pre-cut. That's the one I didn't cut them either. So all the pre-cut ones. So 甜菜脯. Okay, 甜菜脯 has been already pre-cut. And then it's same thing. I soak this one in water too. You don't have to soak them too long, maybe 30 minutes or so. It's good. Okay. And I believe this is our last item. It's pickled. Where's my junk here? It's the pickled cucumber. It comes in the whole, or some longer, some other, the mini cucumbers, the whole ones, pickled. We can eat this by itself. We like to eat this with the Chinese. We like to eat this with congee. 喝粥的时候吃点黄瓜酱菜, right? So that's the, and then for this, I used about half jar there. And this is the whole one. I just slice it into half. Okay, and then cut into strips. Okay, so that's all our ingredients for vegetarian dish. You can see just the time-consuming thing, not necessarily how hard it is. I used to do this in previous years when my dad was still around. He does all the preparation when I'm at work, and then on the weekends he will bring everything over. Say, okay, it's time to cook. So it's probably that was like that's the best part. I don't have to prep anything. All right. So another thing we use in here, I have cut them already, are the gingers. I have the fresh ginger that has already been cut. Okay. So now let's start cooking this. Let's start making this. We'll have our little pot. Oh, that's. And so there are things we cook them together. There are things we cook them separately. And obviously not everything can be really cooked individually. Okay. So I'll show you. Oh, there is a lot of ingredients I can tell you. This ingredient, I'm not doing anything, no treatment whatsoever. It comes in, it's also dry packaged. It's a type of a sort of a seaweed or algae. It's called fa cai. Fa cai, the reason we're using this is because the sound like a fa cai in Mandarin is getting wealth. You're going to be very wealthy, fa cai, or you can say, feng xi fa cai, wishing people good luck and have wealth. And then it's mainly for the sound of the name, and then we add it in. But how do we add it in at the end? It's very simple. It's dry. I simply just use scissors to cut cut them into small pieces, just add it in, and then you flip a few rounds until it's soft. No treatment is needed. There are people using this in the way they pre-soak them right before they add, and then they all become clumps. It's so hard to separate them. So I no longer soak them. I did that before too, so I don't do that anymore. So this we're going to add at the end. Okay. Now I need some. Before we start cooking, we use some oil here for cooking. All right, I'm going to make the. Oh, there's one more ingredient. There's a soybean sprouts. Soybean sprouts. It's a bag. I have the bag here to show you. It's a soybean sprout bag. I don't have them. They look like this. Okay. It's a little light reflection. They look like this. And this, it takes a little time to use this because you have to pick the ends off. So this is another time-consuming item. While I have it here, I'm just going to make this first. There's no particular order of when you cook first. Okay, no particular order at all. So, oops. Okay, now it's on. So I'm adding some oil to here. To cook the bean sprouts, you also need ginger. So when I cut the ginger, I just cut a bunch because there are 3 things I need ginger in. This. Okay, so you add in the ginger in first. Stir it quickly. That's it. Most of the things I'm cooking today, you're going to say, well, it's only same seasoning you use, but they don't. Depends on what you cook. Okay, so water here, and then None of these things that really takes extremely long to cook. Don't take that long to cook. So, actually, I need to go grab some plates. Need some plates, but once this is done, we need to have a plate to put them. You do need to make me all these things. You do need a large. One thing you need is a large kitchen counter, so you can have a lot of space. Okay. So here we're going to add some soy sauce. This is about 2 tablespoons. Soy sauce. And as I said, I use sugar for everything I cook, even in my soups. I just add a little bit of sugar. I think it just adds a flavor. This is truly a pinch. Show you. When I do a pinch of sugar, I go to 3 fingers. Pinch of sugar. That's really really is all you need. Okay. So sugar. Okay. Sugar. So soy sauce I added is 酱油 and sugar is糖. Okay. And the other thing I'm going to add here, and here is your preference, that will be your personal preference. If you're really 100% vegetarian vegan, you cannot have anything that has even meat flavor to it, then you probably should use a thing called mushroom essence of the powder. I don't think any of us here are really pure vegetarians, are we? Yeah. So this tastes good. I'm not saying they're not taste good. I bought it just so everyone can see it. But we're going to use chicken essence. Also, a pinch of a chicken essence in here. Just so many things with so many same ingredients. You don't need too much of any. Once you mix them, all the flavors are in it. Okay. So this, you just stir fry. Make sure the bean sprouts is wilted a little bit. Okay. So when we mix everything, all the juice, we're leaving it out. We can't mix the juice in, otherwise it will be too watery. So soybean sprouts is 黄豆芽. I don't know how many people actually eating this, but it's a 黄豆芽. And you can just, we eat this as a veggie by itself. Just same thing, stir fry like this. And then at the end, we sprinkle some green onions to it. 青葱. The other way we're eating this is actually with the ingredients we have here. We make this as a soup, a vegetarian soup. We use the tofu puff that we have. Instead of cutting into small pieces, we're cutting into that it's become a small chunks of a tofu, and then add bean sprout to it. Even in the soup, this bean sprout still have a really nice crunchiness to it. So this one is done. You can see its color change and no longer white is because of soy sauce. Okay, so I'm just going to put this in on a plate. We leave the juice in for now. Okay, so we'll leave the juice in here. And we'll set this aside so it can cool. So this is just all vegetables, hardly things are stick until you get to the tofu. And the lotus root actually will stick a bit. Because the lotus root actually have starch. Okay. So next one, we're making lotus root. O. Okay. This is the O. Again, oil, ginger. This is the first two items with the ginger. And the next item with the ginger is the puff, along with the other things we make. Actually, I just noticed, I realized that one ingredient that they never introduced that we all use quite a bit in multiple is the carrot. Can I say anything about carrots? So we're using that. I'll show you about the carrot. So to start, you need to cook the lotus root for a little while until it's kind of wilted. Also, the color changed really. It was a fish, and then once it's cooked, it will become a little translucent. Some more than others because of the thickness of the lotus. Okay. And then here you actually add some water, and so the starch starts coming out. This dish, also we eat this by itself. This is a sweet and sour dish. We don't use soy in this one, so we do salt. Maybe just under 1 tablespoon of salt. And then sugar. This one is a little more sugar because we need to taste the sweetness. So 糖要多一点. Okay. More than a tablespoon. Because earlier on the other side, we did a pinch, but this is definitely right? More than a pinch. Okay. So mix the flavor. May need a little more water. We'll see. If it's begin to kind of like stick on the bottom of the wok or your cooking utensil, then you can add a little more water. And then also make sure there are all the slices are separated, are fully cooked. You can see it's a little stickiness now. So this is, we call this one 糖醋藕. Tang is sugar. Chu is a vinegar. This is the only dish we're actually using some vinegar. And in this case, I've chosen apple cider. It has the most mild flavor to it. It doesn't overpowering the food itself. Okay. So apple cider vinegar, couple tablespoons. It's really the balance of sugar and vinegar here. And I can pinch a little more sugar here. You can actually smell the vinegar, right? And this one we always do with the ginger, even regular. The only thing, interestingly, they think that you cook with the ginger on a normal basis, you still add ginger to it. Things that we usually cook with garlic or onions, we actually don't add. So those two, garlic is a little too overpowering for everything else, but there are a lot of things in here does not require garlic. Onion, we don't put it in there because it's too easy for onion to get spoiled. To really use onion in here. So this, so the lotus root is done. So again, I'm going to put that in the plate. And this, I'm going to step away to wash this. This needs a little more cleaning here. Okay, here we are. And the heat on while we try this up. The next one, we're going to mix a few things. Okay, next one we will be mixing a few things. Again, oil. This one we're going to use our snow cabbage, salted snow cabbage. And you stir fry this a little bit. And then we will add our thin sheets. That's what I said, we put mixed together, right? No cabbage. No cabbage, the tofu sheet. The tofu sheet. And then the mustard stem. And this one is, we're actually going to add water, let it cook a little bit. Okay, and then let it cook a little bit. Because the tofu, it's very thin. You need to make sure that it's not too chewy. Okay, it's not too chewy. Okay, so that. Okay. And while this is cooking, we're going to add salt. A little bit of salt because the snow cabbage and the mustard stem already have salt in it. And then the sugar. And chicken essence. They all fairly small amount. Don't need too much of either one. Okay. While this is being cooked, we want to take a few minutes. I'm going to show you. Where's that cutting board? And this cutting board, I want to cut the things that we're going to use to make a fish. So the things we're going to make fish, we will be using ginger. Okay. So that's it. You peel the skin off or scrape it off. You don't even have to use knife. Sometimes I use a spoon, the edge of the spoon to scrape the ginger skin off. Okay. And now slice it. And then after I slice them, I cut them into half so the slices are not so wide. And so it just becomes the ginger here. And then the onions. These are the green scallions. I'm using all of them, and the whites and the green part. You cut the tip off, and then for the whites, also slice them into half or to a third, half or a third. Depends on the thickness of it. Do this. It can hold. Onions is a little too slippery. So that's the white part. They all look like little pieces now. And then the green part, just to cut them shorter. I'm going to use that as is. If they are together, you can split them apart. Okay, so that's the onions and the ginger we're going to use. No, that's that. Now we're coming back to our mixture. At this point, we can actually add our tea tag, the one that's called strippers first. Okay. I'm adding it with this. You just make it simple. You need to separate them apart. Okay. So this is tea tag. Do be careful. Don't get your hands too much into the food. The things on the bottom is hot. So I'm only separating them since I have them all on the surface. Okay. Just make it a little easier. So this one has 雪菜, the snow cabbage, and 薄荷百叶, that's the thin tofu sheet, and the chitai now is in there. Okay. For color, I'm going to give a hint of soy sauce. Not much at all. Just a little bit, given the amount of food we have in here. Just need that a little bit. Make it slightly soy colored. Okay. Now is the time for that special naming dish, fa cai. Okay. My scissors. So fa cai, what I do is this. On the little ones, you can just sprinkle it in. I'm really just cutting because I don't really need. You just kind of cut this, sprinkle all around. We don't need that much in it. It's for more of a symbolic meaning for good fortune for the new year. Now you can stir it a little so it can get to the mixture. And then once I flip once, I will cut one more layer over it. Then it will be soft. It doesn't really have any flavor. I tasted it myself. There's no flavor to it. It's truly a symbolic item. in. All right, so here, all the liquid I added in earlier is pretty much all gone. So I'm gonna just add a tap in, like a 1 ladleful. This is almost ready. Remember, ji cai is cooked. It's ready to eat veggie here. We're simply warming it up. That's the purpose we add it in this dish. And we don't even add it earlier. It's like very late. All right, this one is ready too. Heat a bowl. Let's put this on the plate and move on. Already we're running short of time here. However, seems like we only did 3 things, but there are many ingredients has been used. Okay, now next, we're going to make several ingredients here. All these going to go. This is the last thing we have with the ginger. This is actually a traditional Shanghai dish called the Sishi Kao Fu. That's the one we use the glue pump in. If you have traveled to Shanghai, you probably have seen this dish. It's called Sishi. It's like for happiness. For iron. Yeah. It has the in this one, I'm going to add in the shiitake mushroom first. And stir fry this quickly. With the ginger. And then we're adding in the lily flower. Next, this one sticks though. So you know. Here we need a little water. And we're gonna add the ingredient we never introduced to the carrots. The matchstick size. The carrots in here is purely for color, so it's not using that much of it, but it is for color. So you have little white, little yellowish, yellow color from the lily flower. So we have shiitake mushroom, Qingzhen, that's a donghu. Then we add lily flower, that's a Qingzhen cai. And then we add the green puff for coffee. And carrots is the whole. Okay. They do absorb a lot of liquid. Now the last thing we add in here are the woodier, mu'er. Good thing about the zinc oxides is get rid of them. Okay, so mu'er now is really it's a mixture. Remember, mu'er has been pre-blanched and cooked for extended blanch, and then Seasoned soy sauce. Sugar. Sugar is actually, this one has more sugar to it. This will be at least 1 tablespoon of sugar. People in Shanghai loves their food a little sweet. And this particular dish is, you can definitely taste the sweetness. And then the chicken essence. Again, if you 100% vegetarian, use the mushroom essence instead. Most things here, shiitake mushroom probably is the lily flower. We can consider them raw, but they were hydrated. It's also ready to eat item. Carrots is obviously ready to eat item. So it really doesn't take this long. Okay. What is it?
Oh, somebody wants to find out, how does it smell?
How does it smell?
Yes.
So we should ask someone to tell us how it smells. I have a few people around here. They are my adult language class. So maybe you're come to tell us how it smells.
What does it smell like to you?
Oh, like mushroom sweet sauce. You can probably smell it even from distance, right? Hmm? At the end of this, I'm gonna like this to just cook just a little more, a few more minutes. You can the last thing we add in here are the sesame oils. That definitely would add more fragrance to it. This one in Shanghai, they at the restaurants, it's a part of the appetizer. Appetizer, like when you order a cold dish, and this one is usually pre-cooked, and then they can just scoop out on the plate as a cold dish.
Jen, somebody asked, do you eat it lukewarm, hot, or cold?
Now, this vegetarian dish is eaten cold. Well, after I mix everything together, it's actually a cold dish. We don't warm that. This particular mixture, you can either warm, lukewarm, or cold, whichever.
And then how long can you refrigerate that once it's cold? How long can you keep that in the refrigerator?
More than a week. It probably lasts more than a week, but do I want to eat it every day for a week? Maybe not. And any of your favorite things, you probably don't want to eat it every day for a week or 10 days. But vegetarian dish, the reason they make the vegetarian dish in China, as I mentioned, that it's because of it holds. You can just leave them outside. It's a natural refrigeration, and then they can have some vegetable every day. Otherwise, they 30, 40 years ago, the only thing they have a vegetable is the snow cabbage. They buy them fresh. They buy like 20 or 30 pounds of them. Some of them even more. And then they salt cure that and then add it to the large stone containers or what do you call it? Planter size, large planter size of stone. And they put heavy rocks on top to make sure it doesn't blow up, so that it's all salt cured. And that was the only vegetable they had. That was really the only vegetable they had. Okay, so the liquid, it's pretty much boiled at this point, and I'm just adding some sesame oil in it. You know, we're actually going to use more when we do the mix. We're adding more sesame oil to that. Not sure the plate doesn't work on this. The quantity on this one is a little more. I'm going to use a bigger bowl for this. Okay. So this is ready. Now the fragrance changed a little bit, right? we're gonna make, let's make some green vegetables. One, you see it? See them hot. This is what it looks like after it's done. There's a lot of color. There's a lot of color. And now you don't see green, but we're gonna make some green vegetables. Let's stir fry our pea shoots. Snow pea shoots. It's that one again. For stir fry green, you do need a little extra oil here. And we're now using any of the garlic. When you eat this by itself, we actually cook with the garlic or ginger. But majority of the time I do garlic. Okay. Where's my attention here? You make something. You're gonna see, I have a bunch of these here, but when it's done, I probably have a one flat plate. They do shrink tremendously here. This is another very traditional Shanghai dish. I'm going to add season to it now, and then I have a little more I can add in later. This one you use the salt, sugar, a little extra sugar. This is also you can tell the sweetness on this one, and then the chicken essence. So this one is called dou miao. There are two different kinds. There is also a xiao dou miao. That's the pea shoot sprouts. But we don't want to use that for this. This is only the larger ones that we use. Only the larger ones that we use. They don't have such a big bowl of that, but once it's a big wilted, really. Just going to be at one place. And we need to see some green color. The other one that we just made, so far with everything we made is only the jicai, the sugars first. That's a little green. All the rest of them are brown, black, white. They're not really green. So this, once you have a season in there, you just need to cook this until they nice wilted, but do not overcook them. You don't want that to be extremely soft. Stir fry of spinach is a very similar way. So I'm not going to show you that over here. I'm going to put the spinach in the back, the big wok. But spinach is very much the similar way. But not as much sugar. We don't add in too much sugar. As I said, even they are still their same way of a preparation, the flavors are not the same. I'm gonna cook the spinach back there. Okay, spinach. Thank you. Okay, tomato salt, same seasoning. This is the sugar. So you can take the pieces out. You see there's a large wok of spinach, but it's going to be all wilted. So the heat is much more powerful. And this is already done. So this spinach is done. We're just going to take this out and put out the plate also. Okay, so we can go back. You'll get this plate and then we'll take the spinach out. Now that's where this part now looks a little extra, right? Because we don't have a green color. I like some spinach here. All right. So the next thing we're going to do. We want to actually. The next vegetable I'm also going to cook it in the big wok. Maybe it'll affect your bus. But in this particular wok, I'm going to show you the braised fish that we're going to do. It's probably clear for you to see here. Okay. My board. Oh, my pen is over there. May I have a piece, please? No, that's okay. May I have a knife? What we have here is a whole fish. This, as a Chinese New Year, we have to have a whole fish. Okay, and you can use any fish of your preference. Anything we're going to make it. And then on this, you need to. We're going to fork this about 3 times so the flavor. So the flavor can soak through the fish. So you do it for both sides. Okay, both sides. All right. So that. And then I'm going to show you how to pan fry this quickly. Okay. You get the other three fish in here too. No, just take this, take this over there, so don't put this in. Okay. And then we're gonna add a little oil. Okay. Bit of oil. And make sure that water is hot. And then you're going to put the fish. You need to make sure you clean the scale good. So fish is yu. The reason we do fish, the yu, is that the sound like since you have plentiful of item, you have a great harvest, and so you have the things left over residual. Okay, so the oil is hot. You can put the fish in. Watch. And then we just hoping well, every year you have these plentiful things left over, plentiful things that you can have. You have a great harvest, a great fortune, whatever it is. So it's the symbolic thing is the poor have a good fortune. The good fortune related. Okay? So after this one side, you need to make sure you get to the head and the tail. Get to the head and the tail. And then we will flip it. Sometimes when you flip it, the skin attached to the bottom, which is okay, no big deal. The reason is to make sure the fish is whole. Okay? The fish is whole. And then this time, I'm going to add my ginger and cinnamon. So I'm adding the ginger in here, let it fry a little bit, and then the cayenne white in here. Okay. And now I'm going to add some water. I'm going to cook this. Cover the bottom of the fish. Okay, that is to cover the bottom of the fish, and then we're going to add soy sauce. This is soy grates. This we actually have plenty of soy in here, and my magic ingredient, sugar. We don't need the chicken essence in here, but I do need sugar in here. So with this, you need also, while you wait, just like keep pouring the water, juice, flavoring over, and then you just let this break until it's a boil. Until it's boiled, we will flip it. Okay, until it's boiled, we will flip it. So we're gonna let this braise while we make another veggie dish. You tell the computer over a little bit, they can still follow speaking here. This one we're going to put the tofu in it. Do the celery first. Will be my celery, tofu, and carrots. So I'm gonna make sure I remember exactly what all I mix. And then adding tofu in here. And here. Okay. All right, now the fish is boiling. Turn this slightly. And then we will flip the fish. Turn that way. Okay. Nice. Please flip it. Okay. And then let this side to freeze until we just turn. We're probably not going to turn this anymore until it's ready to come out. And let it braise. Turn the heat down just a little bit. Once all the juice are soaked, then it's ready. At a very, I would say maybe another 5 minutes or so. This should be all reduced. Okay. I'm going to add some of these. Now we're going to add soy sauce to the tofu mix. So just for you to see, there's the tofu, celery, there's a sweet radish, and carrot. That's what mixture look like. This is what mixture looks like. Okay, that's a carrot and celery in here. Okay. All right. So this is what. Fish. So you can see the fish is boiling. Okay, and turn the heat back to high. Fish is boiling. Now we'll flip. Now I'm going to flip it one more time. The tail is a little softened here, but we leave it on so we can at least place the tail on the plate. Okay. The tail is still here. Now I'm going to go find a plate I can put the fish on. You can feel whether the fish is done or not. You can kind of feel the top of the fish meat if it's still soft or not, or if it's too firm. If it's getting soft, then that's good. Okay, if it's soft, it's good. One more time, and let's make sure it's good. Okay. All right. So in just another few minutes, we will get that done. Okay. And now we're going to make our burger lines. So once this, I want to let the juicer to reduce slightly more. and sugar. Then chicken essence. Soy sauce in this one. Let the braise just a little bit while we do that. Okay, so let's come back. The fish is ready. All right. Fish. Okay, fish, I'm gonna take it out. Put on the food. Try to keep it as a whole. Remember, we have our fish tail here. So this plate is actually a little small. Let's put the fish tail here. And then the remaining juice, we add it on. So this is a braised fish. Okay. So braised fish. And then the final tofu mix is done also. Okay. So we are done here. We'll go ahead and take it out. All right, now I'm going to quickly show you. I know we're running out of time a little bit, but I'm going to quickly show you what are we going to do with the pork fillet. Not pork fillet, yeah, pork fillet. The dumplings. You remember early on when we first started, we did the pork, I made a pork fillet, but without any veggies. Okay. Here's our Napa cabbage, and here's our spring onions. Okay, so to make it a little faster, I'm going to use my hands to mix this. If I can, figure it in here. Okay, yeah, you can just align them all up here. We're going to mix it. All right, so this is the pork filling that we made. I left it in the refrigerator. So just mix this a little bit and all this down. Now I'm going to add the veggies in. And now we'll fold it, we will fold that into meat. Okay. So I'm going to just gently, you can just gently fold it. I mean, at home, you probably don't make it this much of quantity. You can use a fork or chopsticks. Okay. Now we can add a little more. See, so you can still see a lot of pork in here. You may think that I add a lot of veggie in here already, but still. Mix it in. And then we're gonna add in our green onions. Okay. Because for eating dumplings, you can always have some dipping sauce to it. So the filling doesn't have to be very salty, but the flavor is really all depends on how much salt you like in your food. Okay. So basically the filling for the dumpling. Okay. So you can see the pork, cabbage, and onions in there. Okay. So now we can set this just on the side. I'll show you how to do the dumpling wrapper. Any of you know how to roll the dumpling wrapper? No? Cảm trí. We're done. Okay. All right. May I have another knife, please? Leave that here. You can leave that here. Okay. Just the wrapper. Okay, the larger one is this. Yeah, that's fine. That's why we don't have a over here. If we rely on Roman, we can use drumstick. All right. To do your own dumpling wrapper. You cut the dough. I don't even think I need the flour. You roll that to a cylinder. So the size gauge is pretty much if you're able to hold this cylinder with it between your finger and your thumb, you're able to hold it in together. And that's like the size gauge. Okay. And then we're going to cut into a small dough. Let me just wet. My towel wet. Cover it up. Dry it up. All right. Could you give me some flour, please? So after you cut these in the little dough, kind of like this. Spice that up. then we press it down on both sides, flip it, press it down. Okay. And then with some flour. Okay, actually, you guys can come do this part. Down like this. Yep. This over here. And then I'm going to start to show you how to roll this. Okay. So press it down a little more. You go to in and out motion, kind of, and then while you're turning this dough on your with your left hand, put your finger like right in the center. So every time you roll in, you feel like you touch your finger, it's time to back out. Okay. So it's just 1, 2, just keep doing it. Doesn't need to be too big. If you're afraid that, okay, I'm not able to wrap too much filling in there, it just becomes this little circular wrapper. And the middle is slightly thicker than all the edges. Okay, and do one more. You don't need to put too much filling in when before if you never wrapped dumpling before. And you get better at it, more dumplings you make. Okay, so dumpling again, 是饺子. And if we're going to boil the dumpling, it will be 水饺. 我们今天吃水饺, we're going to eat boiled dumpling. Or 我们今天吃蒸饺, that's the steamed dumpling. Okay. And if we pan fry it, that will be 锅贴. And this motion is called 擀. It's the character in Chinese for 擀, 叫擀饺子皮 or 擀皮子. It's a family activity. Some people good at rolling the wrapper. Some people will only know how to actually wrap them. I don't know how to do this. So people, you divide responsibilities. Okay. Okay. You guys want to try it? Just make sure you have a flour on them in order to do this. All right. Where's my filling? Just here. Let me show you how to make the dumpling. Okay, making the dumpling is not that hard. So you take a wrapper, you get some filling, put it in the center, and then press it down. Go the other way. You're going reversed. Not too much flour on it, then we won't be able to wrap it. So once you put it in there, it's right in the center. You fold this up. Okay. There are a few different ways to make it. Here's one way is you pinch the middle together, right in the center. Okay. And then kind of like in front of you, and this corner, push it in. And then 1, 2, 3 pleats. And then this right here. Do the same for the other end. Pinch the corner first. Okay. And then 1, 2, 3. And then at the end, just make sure it's all sealed. And then it's nice and sitting. Okay. It's not flopped it down. So that's one way of folding it. Another one, it's a continuous motion from right to the left. Okay. Continuous motion from right to left. Here is I go from this corner here, and then I'm continuously making the pleats. Then I finish like this. See, I have just continuously instead of doing multi-steps. Okay, so that's another one. And I have one more that kids like. Feel like I'm braiding. Just doing the braid form. This one you don't need too much of filling in, but it's still a very similar thing to do. You push it down in the center, okay, and then fold up I'm still starting from the end, but instead of continue with the pleat, I'm going to pick up one, fold it over, and then fold over, back and forth. It's like you are braiding here. Then just pinch the end, and this is what it looks like. So there's a braiding one. There's another one that people in northern China do a lot. They don't do, actually, I'm not good at that one. They said it's the simplest one, but I just couldn't get the pressure right. Okay, so this one, they push it together, and then they put both sides, thumb and the finger, and then on this side too, they just squeeze it. They just squeeze it, and there's really no shape whatsoever, but other than your finger thumbprints on here. And then that's another one. They say that's the easiest one. Okay, so basically, I'll show you 4 kinds. Let me show you one more. This one, it's called 四喜饺子. You actually need more ingredients for decoration on this. This one is actually you pinch to the middle here, okay? And then you pinch this side in to the center, pinch this side in. You're actually creating 4 little corners here. This version of a dumpling is for steamed only, okay? You're creating 4 little pockets. These 4 little pockets, what they do is they're adding shiitake mushroom, green peas, carrots, and then like baby corn. There are 4 different colorful things on there. But so you have a dumpling and then plus all the other thing they call it 四喜饺子, like 4 happiness dumpling. Since I didn't prepare for all the other things, so this one we can actually simply just pinch it up. Like we made a pocket. So that'd be a dumpling too. By itself. Okay.
If you boil them, how do you know when you're done?
When you boil them, with the boiling water, okay, with the boiling water, and put the dumpling in, and try to move it, make sure it doesn't stick to the bottom. And once they start floating or boiling, floating, add another big cup hold of water into cold water again. Do that twice, and then let it boil for about 3 minutes. It should be all boiled. It's not a solid meat dish, so it's half of them are vegetables. So 15-20 minutes, it's plenty. Okay, all right. So while they're making dumplings here, make it a little bigger. That's a little too small. That's it need to be like this size, like this size. Okay, so I'm gonna make one more. The ones that I'm just to choose one of the styles here. Okay, just the traditional one. You're folding continuously on the corner here, and then you keep going. Okay, 就是捏折子要捏出来. So this one you need to make sure you have the pleats. Okay, you have the pleats, and that means it's all closed, sealed. Okay, so that's dumpling. Now, I know that we are running over time here, but I'm going to quickly show you how to do the tangyuan. Tangyuan needs some hot water. Tangyuan we're going to use we use 糯米, that's the gluten rice flour, 糯米. And I use this bag. You know how to use the whole bag? It depends on how many people you're making it for and what do you want to really do with it. Okay, so for this one, we're going to mix just like making dough, but this dough is very, very different. Going to do this, divide this into half, kind of. Okay, divide the flour in the bowl to half. And then for half of it, I'm going to mix it with just a regular room temperature water. So just the water. Okay. And then for the other half, we're going to use the hot water. So for the other half, we're going to use the hot water. And now we're going to mix them together. I still need a little. Yeah, I'm gonna put it in. Okay. This does not require rest or anything. This is just like as long as they are together. Everyone. Put that in here. Now, just in my hands. This. This. Now they're soft. I need to make this into a dough. The reason to use hot water for is that it will help us stay together. It does not crack. Okay. So this is now nice and soft, actually very soft. So what do we do here for the making the one with the filling? Okay, I'm going to show you how to make the one with the filling. You just need small pieces of dough. There's no really, because they're so soft, there's no really shape. You just pinch a piece, roll it into a ball, and then pinch down in the center. And then keep turning it, you make a well here. Okay, here's my little well. Okay, and then I'm going to use red bean paste. I have some red bean paste here. 红豆, okay, then we add this in here. The 豆沙, so what we're making is a 豆沙汤圆. Okay, so just fill the wheel. Okay, and then you start pinch the dough up. It's really, really soft. It's like a Play-Doh. This is like a Play-Doh. So now you can, is it closed? Right? It's very weird looking. Now what you need to do is to roll it into the ball. Then here you have a red bean tangyuan. So that's the red gluten rice flour. 2 To cook this, it's the same thing, similar, very similar to the dumplings, the process wise. But this one is a sweet. Okay, this one is a sweet thing. And then another tangyuan is a solid, no fillings needed. Just you roll this into a cylinder size of your desire, and then you instead you can cut this. I can just pinch. I can pinch 3 little rice balls. Then I can just roll them, and then it become a little round ball here. You may want to do 1 at a time at the beginning, and then you can roll 2 at a time, and then you can roll 3 at a time. That's the little small tangyuan. Tangyuan is used for Lantern Festival, which is next Tuesday. Lantern Festival marks the end of the Chinese New Year, and we using this for means of reunion, family togetherness. Okay, so that's the different yuan xiao. The only last thing I did not show you is a mixture of our vegetable dish, which I'm going to do that very quickly. Okay, do this very quickly. You need a very large bowl for all the things that we have. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm putting a layer of this. Remember, we're not going to use the juice. Okay, no juice. So I'm putting this 1 layer at a time. I'm trying to leave all the juice out. Okay, it's right here, and then try to spread it out. And then see, this one has a lot of juice. We can actually just pour this juice out. This is a soybean sprouts here. Then we mix, we put in. So we're basically 1 layer at a time. Okay, 1 layer at a time. Okay, and then let's put some green in between here. Also, try to keep the juice out. Okay. And then we're going to add in our lotus root. And the tofu. This is the Shanghai Sishi Kaofu. Okay. Okay. Yeah. And our spinach. Okay. And the last thing is our tofu dish. The fried spice tofu with different mixture. All right, so now they're all layered up. Okay, what we do is we're going to, and here is our fish, and then here goes our sesame oil. You do actually a very generous portion of sesame oil, and then mix it. Okay. So don't squeeze them, just you basically use your finger as a claw to lift it up from the bottom, and then you mix this. It's the best if you eat this cold. Now our dish is still quite warm here, but it's okay to eat it warm. It's not like you cannot, but traditionally they eat it cold. So once whatever the leftover is, once you have it in the refrigerator, you can just eat it with anything or by itself. There's no need to warm it up. Okay, so just mix it well. That's all there is. We're talking about the mix. We simply mean mix. There's no fancy thing to it. Okay, so basically this is our mixture. So we put this in here. And although it's a very big bowl, and then there's our fish. Our dumplings are uncooked yet, but we do have our dumplings here. It's our dumplings. Okay. Here's our dumpling. And then our tangyuan are here too. This is the one with the filling. These are the 3, the one without. So this is our end of, sorry, we're 25 minutes over, but this is our New Year's selection. Hope everyone have a very happy and prosperous New Year for the Year of the Tiger. 再见.
Thank you, Jin. On behalf of the Tucson Chinese Cultural Center, we wish you all a happy new year. And if you'd like to get more information about our cultural center, please visit us at www.tucsonchinese.org. The recipes will be on the menu. The recipes will be on the website. And if you'd like to make a donation to support our cooking classes, feel free to go to our website and make a donation. We greatly appreciate it. On behalf of the center, Happy New Year's. Please re-log in if you like to watch the live lion dance shortly. It will be a different link. Thank you.